Hey, Shalom. Here we are back in Hebrew Exodus. We are starting with chapter 24 tonight. And I'm sorry I'm not showing the graphic novel or the Korean publisher's Tanakh with my document camera because my studio is not yet back intact, not yet usable. So I'm just going to use what I can. This is my Bible software that I have here. And please just, hopefully you won't mind. I've got all these kind of weird highlights and notes and stuff. Those are like the Council of Ricks here. These are my personal notes. They remind me of something when I'm studying the words. I don't have to look at the note and read it necessarily. Um, and in the future, maybe if some of you are interested in this, I could share some of my annotations if you like to do it too, but not tonight. All right, or not this morning for the case of you in the United States and Europe and Brazil and other places. Okay, so chapter 24, verse 1. Uh, it says, Ve'el Moshe Amar. And unto Moshe Amar he said, Ale, Ale. This is the command form from Allah, right? To ascend. So go up, El unto Adonai. All right, let's just chant that. The El Moshe Amar Ale El Adonai Atah V'Aharon Nadav V'Avihu V'Shiv'im Miziknei Yisrael. Okay, so Ata, you, the Aharon and Aaron, Nadav, Va'avihu, right? Those are names. Veshiv'im, and 70 Miziknei. Ne, that's min, right? You see the little dagash there in the Zion? That's telling us it's from. So min, from the ziknei, that's zekanim. Zekanim are elders. And we drop the mem, and by dropping the mem, that makes it of, right? So the elders of Yisrael, from the elders of Israel, 70 from the elders of Israel. V'hishtacharitem merachok. And you all shall prostrate down merachok, from afar. Those notes that are popping up, this is from the critical apparatus. It's showing where there's variances, textual variances with, like here, it's showing the Septuagint says Tokuriu. So they add Ladonai, right, to the Lord. Okay. So that's what that is, in case you're wondering. Yeah. Now, something that's really interesting. So, Hishtachave, we know this is to prostrate down. The tem makes it you all, right? Hishtachavite means you all prostrated down. But the vav here changes our time and makes the aspect we would translate into the future. And you shall prostrate down, merachok, from afar. Now, I believe I've shared before, the Mekhilta de Rav Shimon bar Yochai tells us that there's a remez. Whenever we see this phrase in the Hebrew Bible, merachok, for example, when the sister of Moshe Rabbeinu, when she watched to see what would happen with the baby Moses, it says she watched merachok, from afar. Right? There are many other instances of this. It tells us that Ruach HaKodesh, that Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit is involved in that action. Right? So just something that you wouldn't get just looking up a lexicon, but really nice. The Mekhilta informs us about this. All right, let's look at verse 2. Okay. Venigash Moshe levado el Adonai vehem lo yigashu venigash. So nagash is to approach, like to get near to something, to approach something. You'll notice there's a dagesh in the middle here. That tells us that this is actually the ancient form ningash. Ningash. So there's an extra noon. That's the niphal, or a passive form. So it's interesting. It's like Moshe shall not approach, but it's like passively there. Levado means, levad means alone, and o is him. So by himself. V'nigash Moshe levado. Sorry. So Moshe shall approach alone. All right. It's a little bit strange that it's in the niphal because it's not saying he shall not be approached. He shall be approached, but he will approach. It almost feels to me like it's making kind of a softer meaning to the verb there here. Because we're going to have the same verb over here for the others in the call. So that's just a little bit odd there, but it feels softer to me, right? By using the niphal. By the way, regarding Levad, in the 6 Day War in Israel, kind of the phrase that everybody was saying in the country was lo levadi. So there's e at the end. Lo levad, not alone. E am I am not alone. Which really, really was true. Hashem really, it was a miraculous result to that conflict. El unto Yod-Heh, Waw-Heh, unto Adonai. Right? V'nigash Moshe levado. Then Moshe shall nigash, he shall approach levado himself, el unto Adonai. Vehem, but they, if you want, we can see what's yeah, ton theon. See, so that's just telling us that the Greek adds um, Lelohim to God. It adds that there. So whatever the textual tradition they were looking at when they translated the Jewish Greek, it added unto God there. Vehem, but they, lo, not yigashu. So this was yin gashu, because the verb is nagash, and the noon has gone inside here, right? So they will not approach. They shall not approach. And this one's call. And this one over here is niphal. So it's a little bit interesting there. V'ha'am, ve, and the people, lo, not ya'alu. So we already had the verb in verse 1. We had Allah, right? But as a command form, here it is, ale, go up. Now we have, this is an imperfect third person plural. So the yod at the beginning tells you it's he or they, and the u at the end tells you it's they. And the hey, see the verb has a hey, the hey has gone away. So ya'alu means they will go up or they are going up. So v'ha'am, but the people, lo, not ya'alu, they will not go up. Arimo, arim, we've had this as one of your words of the day, means with, him. And let's just see, I'm curious. It's nice to go just look and see the critical. Okay, met alton, with him in the Greek. So that's, okay, so that's the same here. Interesting. Why is it telling us that? It says it here in the Hebrew also. Emo. I'm not really sure. That's not really a variant. Interesting. Oh, with them. Sorry. It's plural in the Greek. Okay. Yeah. All right. Verse 3. Vayavo Moshe Vayesaper La'am et Kol Divrei Adonai Ve'et Kol HaMishpatim. Okay, that's a pretty long verse. We'll stop there. Vayavo Moshe. So bo is to come. Yavo is a very famous Hasidic song. Ve'yavo, ve'yavo, ve'yavo. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Anim Amin, I believe. All right, in the coming of Mashiach, though he may tarry. So, Vayavo, Yavo, the Yod tells us it's he. So, Yavo means he will come or he is coming. The Vav here is the Vav conversive, changing the time. Vayavo, Moshe. And Moshe came or went. Vai saper. So this is from the root safar. This is where we get the word sefer, a scroll or a book. And in the PL, in the call, safar means to count. So kind of interesting, like you're telling the number. But in the PL, where you got that strong dagesh, that dot in the 1, 2, 3, in the second root letter, that tells it's an intensive or causative form, then it means to tell somebody, to recount a situation. So interesting. So far is to count and siper is to recount, but not meaning to recount numbers. Okay. So vayavo Moshe, then Moshe went, or he came, vaysaper, and he recounted, he told about la'am. Le is to. A is the people. To the people. 8, that's the DDO. I'm going to slow down a little bit. Sorry if I'm going kind of fast. Because you're not live with me here. I'm kind of unbridled. We may end up doing more verses. 8 is the direct definite object marker. Khol, all, divrei Adonai. So this is from davar, which is word. Devarim is words. And then if you drop that mem and the vowels change a little bit, divrei means words of Adonai. So I have to say the here. Because whenever you have a chain like this with of and the last word is a name, then you say the, which is actually a very interesting point. I've heard some people, I think he was in the chat, a couple people were claiming, oh, I know it is. I won't say his name. I don't want to embarrass him. But, you know, Yosei. Okay, so Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, he was saying that it's not a name, right? And some people have thought that from time to time because it has this meaning. It's really part of the reason that we know how to say his name is because it's known that it's a third person, he, feel, imperfect, singular of the verb haya, to be or to exist. And we know how to conjugate verbs, so we know how to say his name, right? At least we're pretty sure how to say it. It's not like so uber mysterious like some people will say, oh, nobody knows how to say his name. We're pretty sure. Scholarly, we're pretty sure. We're on pretty good ground here because he himself even changes his name to the first person when he says it to Moshe. So his name means he brings into existence is what his name means, or is bringing into existence. Okay, so if it weren't a name, if this was just a verb, we could not have this grammatical form here. You see, we couldn't have put this in the construct in front of like just a verb. That doesn't work. You don't have a. This is called the smicha, pardon me, smichut in Hebrew, or the construct. It's a construct form of this word. That's when we drop the mem to say of, right? You couldn't do that in front of just a verb, right? Unless the verb was in a participle form, in which case it's what we would call a verbal adjective. It's no, or a gerund in English. It's no longer functioning as a verb. There's no time implied anymore. So it wouldn't make sense to say the kol divrei, and then I'm not going to say his name, but all the words of he brings into existence. You see, so it's very clearly a name. It's a name. Okay, so again, I don't mind if we disagree on this, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of, as I noticed it just now, some grammatical reasoning why we have to understand. All right, so the eight, and we don't translate that. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about the notes, it's real handy to see the critical apparatus of BHS right there. So it just says tu theu, right? So that's interesting. So they add tu theu of the God. That's the genitive of the God, right? So ha Elohim in Hebrew. Okay. The eight and kol all hamishpatim. The ha is the, see the dagesh in the mem? Because in ancient times it was hal, right? Hal was how you said the in pre-biblical times. So hal, it was hal mishpatim, and that lamed assimilated and became ham mishpatim. Just like our in legal example. In plus legal became illegal with two L's. Hal plus mishpatim became ham mishpatim. There's two mems here. That's what that dagesh is telling me, okay? And some of you have asked me, and it's a good question, how do we know if this is a strong dagesh, if it's doubling the letter, or if it's just telling us the letter has a different sound? Well, mem isn't one of those letters that takes one to change sound. Mem never changes its sound, okay? It's always m, right? So that's one way with this one. But let's say it was a pay, right? Like this pay here. Is this one doubled or is it the weak one? The way that you know, it doesn't always work, but the rule is true. If this one is preceded by a vowel, right? By a vowel, then it has to be strong because a vowel makes the weak ones disappear. Okay, so here this is a weak one in the pay, and pay can take a weak one because if you remember the begad kefat letters, those are the letters that can take a weak dagesh just to change their sound. B g d begad, the begad b g d kefat kaf pei tav. Those are the letters where three of them still change sounds today, and in ancient times, the other three used to have a different sound that we no longer pronounce. All right? So this one is preceded by this is a silent schwa. He's making no sound. So that makes this guy jump in there. You have to write that weak dagesh there. If you didn't understand any of that, don't worry. This is immersion. You don't have to get it all. Relax, Take notes if you like. Focus if you like. We're training you to recognize patterns in the Hebrew language here, okay? Recognizing the patterns, in addition to learning vocabulary, so I hope you're doing my Hebrew word of the day that we have. This is where you're going to have growth and you're going to start understanding the language. Plus being in the word. Plus there's a spiritual benefit. I mean, think about it. Soon, those of you who've been with me all this time, or if you're catching up, you'll be able to say, hey, I've read through with a teacher the entire book of Exodus in the original Hebrew. And there's spiritual value to that. Even if you don't see it yet, in the future you will. Especially if you like to teach little small groups, or if you're, a pastor or rabbi, you like to teach your congregation, or if you just like to share with friends or whatever, you're going to find that the Ruach HaKodesh will help you, the Holy Spirit will help you to remember these things when you're teaching something, and you'll just be amazed how it comes to mind. So, and it's not just me. I've seen this with students before who are also surprised by it. It's going to happen as long as you put in the effort. Yeah. Okay. So it's okay if you don't understand everything, but there's intentionally going to be stuff in here that sometimes is advanced for those that are more advanced. Okay. And for those of you who are advanced, you sometimes get bored as I'm pointing out the definite article or something. That's so that everyone can get something from this immersion. Okay. I want you all to be benefiting and growing from it. Okay. ויען כל העם, כל אחד, ויאמרו כל הדברים אשר דיבר אדוני נעשה. Okay. ויען כל העם. So this verb, it's a little bit difficult to recognize. This is a Lamed Heh verb. Okay, that's Hebrew dikduk, Hebrew grammar. The title's Lamed Heh. The English like Christian grammars, they'll say, what will they call it? They'll use the Roman numeral 3, and then they'll have the letter Hey there. It's a 3 Hey, meaning if you count the root letters, Ayin is the first root letter, Nun is the second, Hey is the third. Okay, and what have we said? When the verb ends in Hey, the Hey goes away, so it's gone. So this is the verb Anah. Okay, which means to answer. The Yod tells us Ya'an means he is answering or he will answer. Okay? The Vav changes the time. Vaya'an means and he answered. Who's the he? Kol ha'am. I know it's kind of weird, but it's a singular. Kol, all of ha'am. All of the people. Okay? Because people, it's a singular. That's why the verb singular. That's what we call a collective noun. Okay, so it's a singular, but it's expressing a plural concept. But because it's in singular, the verb is also in singular. That's why it's not the ya'anu, like they answered. It's he answered. Who's the he? Kol ha'am, all of the people. Okay. Now this is interesting. We were just talking about this. I think it was, or maybe it was last week. I think Julie brought this up. Sorry if I'm giving credit to the wrong person. I think it was Julie asked about this. It's either Julie or Brenda. Sorry, I like to give credit where credit's due, but I don't remember exactly. Khol versus khol, right? Look at these. They sound the same today. Khol versus khol. Okay? The first one, these are what we call homonyms. They sound the same, but they're not homographs. They're not written the same. Okay? So khol, meaning all. An example of a homograph, if you want to check in with HebrewLiteracy Telegram chat group that we have, you're all welcome to come join there. It's free. We've got over 100 people there, and so people will answer your question. All right, so here we have so here we have an example. Here's our Hebrew literacy chat group, and look, there's you can see there's all kinds of interesting chats going on. Here was one we had the other day about halal, the root chait lamed lamed, and as you can, and where did I answer that? Oh, it was up above, I guess. Anyway, I go through, and this is a homograph, right? It's here it is. It's so, no, that's not it. So it's got there are 4 different roots that look the same for that one. And some lexicons think 5. All right, I don't have it. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's too far back. Oh, here we go. Anyway, uh, just to show you, we have all kinds. Look, people chatting about Hebrew accents and books for it and stuff. So it's really a good place to come and get your questions answered and to share what your study techniques are and what you're learning with and going through. And I think you'll really enjoy that. See, look, we got lots of interesting content going on over there. Yeah. So that's t.me, T as in Telegram, .me, like me, slash Hebrew Literacy, right? And you can join the group over there, and we'll be happy to have you. All right. Okay. Continuing on, where were we? Okay. So khol means all, but khol with a kof means voice or sound. Okay. So khol, all of ha'am, the people, we said vaya'an, he answered. Now I have to say with to make it sound right in English. Kol, a voice, echad, a unified voice, right? So all their voices came together to join as one, just like a man and a woman become one flesh, a united flesh, right? Okay. And just like the Hasidim, they say in their prayer books that Bayom Hahu Yichya Adonai Echad. On that day, Adonai will be Chad, Ushamo Echad, and his name will be united. Okay? It's the Kabbalists, they call it the unification of the name, right? The idea of God's unification. Okay, so continuing. Vayomeru, and they said, who's the they? Okay, what they say? Oh, it's interesting. Now we have it as plural. Kol hadevarim, all of the words. So here, kol echad vayomeru, kol hadevarim, asher diber Adonai naaseh. So vayomeru, and they said, Kol, this is a quote, Kol hadevarim, all of the devarim, all of the devars, in the plural, all of the words, asher which, diber, which spoke Adonai, and you'll note the same root here, davar and diber, which Adonai diber, which he spoke, naaseh, we will asa. The noon is reminding us of nachnu, or anachnu, those two words, they both mean we will aseh, we will do. Okay? All right, I had to change rooms there. I hope it's not. Hope the fans aren't detectable here. I really can't test it because we're in the middle of the recording. So, just hopefully I have the microphone positioned okay and it's not too noisy. There's not any clipping or anything. All right, so let's hold on. Move. We got to move up. There we go. Verse 4. All right, verse 4. Here we go. Vayichtov Moshe et Kol divrei, pardon me, Kol divrei Adonai. Okay, so that didn't sound so good, but I'm laying sideways instead of sitting in my normal position. So katav is to write. We've had this as one of the Hebrew words of the day. Katav is to write. Okay, and the yod yichtov tells you he will write. And actually, even if you didn't have this as a word of the day, for those of you who are Torah keepers out there, we say the Shema v'Hafta twice a day, right? And Yeshua said that this entire chunk of scripture, this is the most important commandment, right? It's that whole thing, right? Not just you shall love the Lord your God. That's a misunderstanding, not understanding Jewish scribal traditions, but it's all of it, right? You shall love him with all your heart, teach his commandments as you walk along the way. Think about them when you get up, think about when you go to sleep, write them on your doorpost, teach them to your children. What? These commandments, the commandments. So going through and keeping the commandments, teaching the commandments, all of that together is an expression of what it means to v'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, to love the Lord your God, right? So all of that is defined by the entire section. So when Yeshua says the most important commandment is that, he means that he's repeating the entire section, right? Or he's referring to the entire section. So this is just understanding it in its Jewish social milieu. All right, let me check something real quickly here. Oh, anyway, so in that, you should know from the Shema V'Hafta, it says, Uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'sharecha. And you shall katavta is you will write, them. So you shall write or inscribe them on your doorposts and on your gates. Uvisharecha. Okay, so yichtov, he will write. But the Navav is changing the time here. Vayichtov. And he wrote. Who's the he? Moshe. Okay. ויכתוב משה את יתיב כל דברי Adonai. There we go. Got it right that time. Khol. All of the divrei Adonai, all of the words of Adonai. Vayashkem aboker. Shakam is to get up early in the morning. Okay. Yashkem is he got up early in the morning. Vayashkem means Yashkem means he will get up early in the morning. Vayashkem means and he got up early in the morning. Or he got up early. We'll just say that. He got up early. Ba boker. Ba, b is in. Ah is the boker, morning. Ba boker, in the boker, in the morning. Vayiven mizbeach tachat ha. Okay. Okay, vayiven. What in the world is that yiven? You're probably thinking, I don't know any word, any verb that's yod, beit, nun, and you're right. That's not what that is. It's actually, the first root letter is beit. The second root letter is nun, and the final one is He, and it's a Lamed Heh verb, a Roman numeral number 3, He verb, and when the verb ends in He, the He goes away. So, bana or bane is to build, right? So, vayiven, and he built mizbeach, a mizbeach. And we've had this also as a Hebrew word of the day, an altar, right? A mizbeach is something that you zavach, a zevach on. You zavach, you sacrifice, a zevach, a sacrifice, al, upon a mizbeach, an altar. All three of those words from the same root letters, Zion, Beit, Hate. Okay. So, and he built an altar, tachat. Tachat means under. And I've shared this with you guys. I think we had it as a word of the day. I shared with you, many of you Westerners, at least the Americans, surely know the Yiddish word tuchus, right? Kick him in the tuchus, or sit on your tuchus, right? Tuchus means gluteus maximus, right? Your butt, your buttocks, okay? That's the tuchus. And the way that we got that Yiddish word is when you read the Hebrew word with the Ashkenaz pronunciation, when you have a tav at the end of the word and there's no dot in the tav, that's silent. That's silent. It's an S sound. S. Okay, so I heard some talking the other room. I got distracted. So if we're reading this with Ashkenaz pronunciation instead of the quasi-Sephardic that we do, then, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to pop up something there. Tachas, you see? So you can hear how that changed over time into Yiddish. It became a loan word from Hebrew into Yiddish, the Ashkenaz Jewish language, to be tuchus, right? Tuchus, it's tachas. So tachas is under, tachat. In ancient Hebrew, it would have been tachas, a th here. That's a th when there's no dot in the ancient pronunciation. So tachat, under, the har, the mountain. You've had har, the mountain. Now, of course, he's not literally digging a hole to get underneath the mountain to build the altar, right? So you need to translate accordingly. This is just how Hebrew says it. So, Vayiven mizbeach tachat hahar means, and he built an altar at the bottom of the mountain, right? Just like your tuchus is at the bottom of your body, or the bottom of your torso, we could say. Ushuteim esrei matzeva לשנים עשר שבטי ישראל. Okay. Ooh, and now why is it an ooh? Why is it an ooh? This, we have that rule. Some people remember it just as bump, but you got to remember it's called bump schwa. If the word that you're trying to attach the vav to, the conjunction and, it can mean a lot of things, right? But if you're trying to attach that to a word, and the word, the first letter of the word is a b, m, or a p. Those are the letters in bump schwa, right? So if it's follow my pointer here. If it's a bait, right? Or if it's a mem, that's the b and the m. Even if the b is pronounced v, that's fine. If it's that letter, or if it's a p, scanning. Where's a p? Really, there's no p on this page. We just had one up above. Here we go. Here's a p, right? Okay. So if it's one of those letters, bait, mem, or pay, then we turn it into an ooh. That's the ooh and bump, right? Now, Sheen is clearly not a b or a p, but he's got a schwa under him. And in Tanachit, in biblical Hebrew, it is not allowed to start a word with two schwas in a row, right? So we can't have the vav and a schwa under it. The schwa is the name of that little vertical two dots. It looks like a colon, okay? You might hear people saying sheva. That's just modern Hebrew pronunciation because the w sound in ancient Hebrew became a v in modern Hebrew, which is why some people think that there's a v in God's name, which there absolutely is not. If you don't believe me, check out my video on this here on this channel about the ancient pronunciation of the vav. I have a link to a Word document I made with 77 scholarly articles, journal entries, etc., where it's very clear that every biblical Hebrew scholar believes it's a w. There's one guy who doesn't, but anyway, yeah. But it was a w. Trust me. Even though we don't pronounce it that way now, just for the sake of Klal Yisrael, it doesn't really help us in understanding the words any better. So you can't have two schwas in a row, so the vav becomes a u. Okay, so u shetem, which makes sense when you understand. Usually the consonant would be a w. W and a u. We do the same things with our lip with the shape. Anyway, check out that video if you're interested in kind of an absolute proof that it used to be a w. U shetem. And 2, esrei, 10. So that's how you say 12, okay? And 12, ushetem, esrei. And I know Israelis will say ushtem, right? But it's ushetem. It's the vocal schwa because it follows a long vowel, so it has to be vocal e. Ushetem, esrei, 10. So 10 and 2, that's 12. Matseva. What's a matseva? Oh, interesting. This is showing me, see the little, I accidentally hit the A. That's showing me the critical apparatus. That little squiggle looking thing, I can't move my pointer, otherwise it'll go away. The squiggle thing next to the A, that's the sign for the Samaritan Pentateuch, right? So the Samaritans, and also that next little pretty looking thing is telling me also the Septuagint, they translate as if it was the Hebrew word avanim here instead of 12 stones. So that's kind of interesting. But the Masorah says matzeva. Matzeva is a memorial pillar. Right? So if you're talking about in Egypt, then it's an obelisk, right? An obelisk is a matzeva, right? If it's in Egypt, there's different kinds of memorial pillars depending on the culture, right? How they did them, or a memorial stone, some would say, right? It might be something like a modern gravestone, you could maybe say is a matzeva. But anyway, usually they were for other gods, right? But obviously not when it's for righteous purposes. So Moshe built at the bottom of the mountain 12 matzeva, which is interesting. It's singular. Memorial stone. Lishneim asar, for the shneim. Now look, here we have shetem and here we have sheneim. These both are 2. They're just different genders of that adjective. For 2, asar, and here we had asai, and here we have asar, right? So interesting. Again, just different genders. So that's 10. So 2 and 10, that's 12. For the 12, shiftei. This is from the word shevet. A shevet is a staff or a tribe, right? So if you know Psalm 23, it talks about umishanteka, beshevet umishanteka, with a staff and his rod, he guides me, right? Yenachamuni. So shivtei is shevatim, is staves or tribes. We drop the mem, and it means tribes of. Shivtei, tribes of. We have to say the 12 tribes of Yisrael. Okay, let me just pause and kind of see how long I've been going here. Okay, so here, let's squeeze in verse 5. I think that'll be pretty good for tonight. Okay, verse 5. Vayishlach et na'arei b'nei Yisrael v'ya'alu olot vayisbechu zebachim shalamim l'Adonai parim. Okay, vayishlach. So shalach is to send or to dispatch. The yod tells us he. So yishlach is he is sending or he will send. But then the vav there, that's the vav conversive. The vav at the beginning, va, changes the time. So va yishlach, and he sent. Et, that's the DDO. Na'arei b'nei Yisrael. This is a long construct chain. We call it, right? Okay. So a na'ar is a lad, right? Like a lad. Na'arim are lads. We drop the mem and it means of. So na'arei. So lads of. And then b'nei, same thing. Banim, children. We drop the mem. B'nei, children of Yisrael. Now look what happens. Because the last word is a name, all that chain, all the words in the chain, usually in English we have to put the in front of them both. Okay, so vayishlach et na'arei b'nei Yisrael means, and he shalached them. He like hit them and they went away. No, he sent et the lads of the children of Yisrael. That last one, you can think of it as in gray if you're watching along. Because it's gray, it makes it all have the, right? It colors the whole chain gray. Gray is the color I use for proper nouns there. It's not my idea. I got this from the Zondervan Reader's Hebrew Bible. They do that. And that was emulated also by the Crossways. I can't think of the guys who put it together, but the Crossway Reader's Hebrew Bible as well. Okay. Something house. I can't think of them right now. Whatever. They also do in gray, which is nice when you're reading, so you don't try to translate a name. So what's with the lads? The lads, as I remember the sages say, this means the firstborns. He sent the firstborns. Those were the lads, the firstborns. The reason is because in those days, the firstborn used to be the one in charge of offering sacrifices, right? This is why there was some contention when you have the whole issue with Korach, right? Some contention because all the firstborns are losing their status, right? It's just going to be the Kohanim, just the Aaronites. So, okay, so anyway, V'ya'alu, this is Allah, Ayin Lamed Heh, and the Hey went away. The Yod tells you it's he or they, and the U at the end makes it plural, they. So Ya'alu means they are going up, or they will go up, they will ascend. And that Vav is changing the aspect again. So Vaya'alu, and they went up. Oh, I'm sorry. Here. Yep. It's not just and they went up. It's actually it's actually a he-fill there. Sorry, a little bit difficult to recognize. So they caused to go up, which means they offered up, right? They offered up, like they made go up. What did they make go up? Orlot, from the same word, and olah is a whole burnt offering. It's called that because it goes up entirely in smoke. You don't eat any of it. The priest doesn't eat it. The offerer doesn't get to eat any. The Levite doesn't eat any. It all goes up. So a whole burnt offering literally means like a going up offering. It all goes up. Okay. Vayizbechu. So this is from the verb zavach, to sacrifice. Yizbechu, and they sacrificed. What did they sacrifice? Zavachim, sacrifices. Okay. What kind? Shelamim, goodwill offerings. Ladonai, for Adonai. Parim, bulls. Hold on, what's the apparatus say? It's kind of interesting. It came up, now it's not. All right, maybe we're not supposed to check it. Okay, that's fine. Oops. All right, there we go. We went to the full apparatus. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to stop recording there because I'm a little concerned about upload and processing time. I want to make sure it's ready for you guys by 8:30. At least the SD version will be ready by then. That's an hour, like 13 minutes from now or something. So, you guys, we did 5 verses. It's pretty good. Please don't complain if it was only 30 minutes and not 45. I can't really see how long the recording was yet while I'm doing it right now for some reason. But the point is to get through the verses, right? And yeah, so I hope you guys can appreciate it. This is not ideal. The studio is not usable right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it usable tomorrow or the next day. We're still drying stuff out down there from the flood. So, would appreciate your prayers and also that there'll be no more damages to equipment and stuff. Kind of really a bummer that my Galaxy tablet got destroyed from the rains recently. So anyway, just kind of anyway, would appreciate, please pray for protection for the ministry and that we will continue to grow and to serve more and more people. It's really my dream that we'll have an entire movement of people, even crossing denominations of people who are literate in biblical Hebrew and can bring the richness of the Holy Tongue to those all around them. Until tomorrow, I wish you guys the best. Shalom, shalom.